I'm Mike and Vin. I'm here today with Mr. Vin Forte.
Whoa, hey, what's going on?
Today we are talking about the new Paramount Plus, formerly CBS All Access. New series, Star Trek Strange New Worlds.
Yeah, I've been getting rave reviews. People seem to...
It is getting rave reviews, and we're here to talk about the pilot. I've only seen the pilot. Vin, you've probably seen, the first couple episodes?
Yeah, first 3 that have come out.
Right, they're coming out weekly?
Mm-hmm.
Which, by the way, seems to be what streaming is doing more now.
Yeah,
right?
Because why... I get why you put everything out at once.
Right.
But at the same time, it's like, you put it out all at once, you lose the publicity of putting it out weekly. It
seems like the only people still on that model are Netflix. Everyone else, Hulu,
and Netflix kind of getting lapped by all the other services.
I know.
Right, even Paramount Plus.
You get to expand a moment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, we're coming at this with two different perspectives because Vin is a Star Trek fan.
Yeah.
Could I even say a Trekkie?
I guess you could.
Or a Trekker?
See, I was never down with the Trekker term. It feels like Trekkie was always the term. And then someone came up with Trekker to kind of like mitigate
I remember the very... it's one of the first like fandom documentaries. The very famous 80s documentary, or 90s documentary, Trekkie.
Yeah.
I remember people in that documentary being like, nah, like Trekkies are nerds, but like Trekkers were cool. And
yeah, guess what? You're both in the same boat.
Yeah, it's the exact same thing. So you have seen... What? Have you seen everything up to this point?
Pretty much.
Yeah, so what have we done so far? The original series, the Next Generation.
We had the original series, Next Gen, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, all the movies, Enterprise, then the Abrams movies.
Mm-hmm.
Then this new crop of shows started with Discovery, Star Trek Picard, then Lower Decks, which is the animated series.
Animated comedy.
Then Prodigy, which is like a CGI show, but like aimed at like kids. It's on Nickelodeon. Basically, like it's on Paramount Plus. It would be on Nickelodeon.
Oh, I see. Interesting. I did not even know about that one.
Yeah, and then you've got Strange New Worlds now.
Strange New Worlds is the Enterprise, Captain Pike.
Yeah, the original
Spock.
Captain of the Enterprise.
Yeah. Where does... can you explain the timeline for me? Because I'm wondering, how does this relate to like Enterprise with Scott Bakula?
So Enterprise takes place in the most basic terms. Like Enterprise takes place not long after our timeline, like right now.
Okay,
so think like 100 years in the future.
So it's early.
So it's like early. Like think back to even like the movie First Contact.
Yeah.
And then jump like 100 years in the future.
I see.
Where we're up to, like, in that movie at the very end, the Vulcans, like, we make first contact with the Vulcans, and they basically help us get to the point where we have warp capability.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's where Enterprise begins, where, like, the first
Enterprise
goes out, and
so
you see the very first
vestiges
of, like, us venturing out past Earth.
So how long after Enterprise is this?
I've never been one for, like, the exact star dates and everything, but I would say, I think like 200 years past that, something like that, because this is right before
the original series.
Because Christopher Pike, the lead in this show, is basically all a reference to the original pilot of the original series, where he was the captain, and you had like a younger version of Spock, you had like a different crew, and they ended up taking that pilot episode and cutting it up and using it for a famous episode of the original series called The Menagerie. Which basically was a two-parter where Spock kidnaps Pike, who is now, you may have seen that like famous sci-fi image of like a guy with like a burned face and like a black chair with like a button on it. Yeah. And basically he could only speak in beeps. that's where that's from. And Christopher Pike, like, something happened to him, and he's in that state. And basically, in that episode, long story short, Spock is court-martialed, and he's showing footage basically from that they used from the pilot.
Oh, I see.
To show, like, what happened on this mission they once had.
Oh.
That explains, like, why he's trying to take Captain Pike to this planet.
So they were like, let's have a cheap week. Let's reuse stuff from the unaired pilot.
Kinda.
And it's a big, now it's canon.
Yeah, and basically the end of that episode is basically you learn that the reason Spock wanted to take him to that planet is because that planet, the aliens essentially let him have the ability to let him live out the rest of his life in a fantasy, basically.
Oh, okay. And the J.J. Abrams films have a Pike character too. I think Bruce Greenwood plays like a Pike. Interesting. Yeah, so we've got a very handsome devil playing Captain Pike in this. What's this fella's name?
Anson Mount.
Yeah. Now, is this a direct spin-off? Were these characters seen before in Discovery?
Yes, these characters were in several episodes of Discovery Season 2.
Because they refer to an event from Discovery in this first episode.
Which is something that I like, is that they're not running away from Discovery.
Right.
This isn't, for people who maybe were not happy with Discovery and were thinking like, oh, this is them maybe trying to make a clean break. It's like, no, like they're all in on this being the Discovery universe.
Well, I wanted you to tell me about how you feel about Discovery, because I haven't seen Discovery. I've only seen images and heard things.
Like a lot of Star Trek, when you hear like, oh, it took a season or two for them to get going.
Yeah.
This follows that.
Yeah.
This absolutely follows that trend, because Discovery started basically as a full-on prequel.
Yeah.
And by the end of season 2, like in the end of season 2, they basically go through a wormhole. And the start of season 3, they're like hundreds of years in the future.
Okay.
And the Federation doesn't really exist anymore, and they kind of have to go planet to planet and put it back together.
Is that the furthest we've ever gone?
That's the furthest we've
in the timeline? Wow. Okay.
I mean, there have been one episode here or there of other shows where like people from the far future come back, but like really in the main timeline, like this is as far as we've gone. But essentially, Discovery basically started out as a prequel, and then now is in the future. Seasons 3 and 4 take place like in its own like future timeline.
All right. So I want
to go back to what you're saying about Pike. Like basically in Discovery season 2, he goes down to a planet and something happens. I'm not gonna spoil it, but like he sees his future, and he sees the future where he, in order to save like this group of people, he ends up getting like horribly burned, and basically, for all intents and purposes, like he dies, and he's just like this shell of a person who's got like a burnt face and is in this chair, and he knows. And now that one of the big driving forces of this new series is he knows that's going to happen. So like, how's that going to mold him, and like what's he going to do with that knowledge?
Right. So this is, I think, the real stroke of genius. Because one of the traps of any prequel is knowing where it ends up and being ahead of the characters. Like when they did Bates Motel, people were like, is it going to end? Is it going to end like Psycho? Is it going to be different from Psycho? Or where's it going to go? And I was thinking, like, imagine if in, like, Star Wars Episode 1, baby Anakin, like, saw a vision of himself as Darth Vader and knows that's going to happen. And how much more satisfying it would be to not be so far ahead of the character. And also it cuts out a lot of what's shitty about prequels. I think it was a real stroke of genius to have...
Get it out of the way. Be like, he knows it's going to happen.
Right.
Maybe later on we could do a bait and switch.
He knows what you know, audience. Right. Like you know this happens, and he knows it too. So how does he deal with it?
Right.
Which is such a crazy question. It's wild. But, the thing that I like about the show, though, and it might sound dark from what we were just saying, it's actually hopeful. It's super bright. It's super pleasant. I can't talk too much about Star Trek because I haven't seen it all like you have. But I've seen and heard and read enough about Star Trek just in pop culture to know that, like, Gene Roddenberry essence Star Trek is very, like, hippy-dippy, futuristic, communism. And it feels like this feels like that. It feels super bright.
Oh, it's very bright, very optimistic.
Yeah.
In tone as well, which was a big and I think a legitimate criticism of Discovery is at times Discovery could be just way too dark.
Yeah.
And even how, like, if it's as beautiful as it looks, like, just color-wise, it looks kind of dark. You see any clips of Discovery, especially those first couple seasons, it's a lot of, like, dark blues, blacks, navy colors.
Yeah.
Whereas this is, like, big, bright, like, lots of yellows, reds, like, greens, like, very bright blues, like, very bright colors. And again, just the optimism. I think that's owed to the fact that they made a conscious choice to, unlike Discovery and Picard, and honestly, unlike a lot of current sci-fi in general, they brought it back to being episodic.
Yes.
Where instead of, hey, like, we're going to make this a big puzzle box, and, you know, there's a universe-shattering entity that we got to eventually stop. It's like, no, we're going to take it episode by episode. There's a conflict on this planet. We're going to deal with it. The next episode, like, we'll get into episode 1, but like episodes 2 and 3, episode 2, they have to figure out a way to move a comet that's going to hit a planet.
Okay, fun.
And then the latest episode that just dropped yesterday, they're on an away mission. They get beamed back up, and usually when you get beamed up through the transporter, like, one of the hand-wavy things about Star Trek that they account for is the transporter destroys, like, diseases and stuff, basically. It beams away, like, it disintegrates, like, pathogens and stuff, so you don't bring them back to the ship. But something got past that, and now there's, like, a parasite that's going person to person and infecting people on the ship. It's a Contagion episode.
Okay.
So it's, like, small stakes, relatively small stakes, you know, like, there's a contagion on the ship, what's going on?
Right.
And also, like, Pike and Spock are still on the planet, so they don't know what's going on the ship, and they got their own shit going on.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. You know, I think it's corny in the best way. You know, like, at the end of this episode, and we'll talk about the story of it in a second, but at the end of this episode, Pike gives a rousing speech about hope. And I was like, I'm moved. That's where I felt like the ghost of Gene Roddenberry was patting me on the head. I was like, because I'm a say it sack. The world's awful. People want to get rid of abortion, and the world's.
It's like, why not have an episode of A Little Hope?
Yeah. So him being like, you know what, your planet will figure it out because we figured it out, and you just gotta stop. You just gotta reach the fucking stars together, man. I was like, fuck. I was like, this feels good. I want to watch it because I want to feel good.
Yeah.
And I feel like that kind of sci-fi, you don't see it as much anymore.
Right. And I think that's the big strength of this show, is that it's giving you something that I think some people would have had you believe has gone out of vogue.
Yeah.
But I think, like a lot of sci-fi, like, things go in and out of vogue. And I think now is the perfect time for there to be, like, a hopeful sci-fi show.
Yeah.
And this is it. Like, this is, because we're something we both are big Doctor Who fans.
Yeah.
And even though, like, there have been great Doctor Who episodes the past 10 years, whole great seasons, in fact, there's really little, I don't think you would deny this at all, that, like, compared to the earlier seasons that we really fell in love with, the more recent seasons have been a lot about, like, solving a big mystery.
Yeah.
And that's where I think they sort of lose it a little bit.
And when they do Monster of the Week,
they're great.
But people complain because when you're tied up in a large narrative, you feel like it's wasting time.
Right.
But they misunderstand those complaints. They go, see, people hate Monster of the Week. It's like, no, they hate Monster of the Week when it is filling time between these gigantic things. People like it when that's what it is. I mean, that's what, like, I'm a big Buffy fan. Like, the first, like, 3 seasons of Buffy, like, they would not even really get into an arc until, like, the last couple episodes. It was just like, what's the new weird thing in the school this week? Let's take care of it.
Yeah.
And then that show, too, increasingly got more and more these long-form arcs, which is, you understand what it does for the stakes, but it can be exhausting.
And Star Trek can be all of those things, too, because, like, you look at something like Deep Space Nine, where the strength of that show was the fact that it had great long-term arcs.
Yeah.
Like way before a lot of other shows.
Was that a dark show? Is that where the darkness started?
Yes and no. It's not where the darkness that people talk about now with, like, Discovery started. But it definitely has darker tones. But there are, like, lighter characters. There are definitely like handfuls of lighter episodes. sprinkled into each season. Like Deep Space Nine is just a very well put together product. Like great characters, great, like such a great ensemble. It's one of those shows that like its strength is the fact that it's got a great ensemble.
Yeah,
because you don't mind when we're gonna have an episode about like Quark or Dr. Bashir or like Kira. Like they can go character hopping and show different perspectives, and then do an episode where like all those people kind of come together and you already know where they stand.
Yeah.
And then Voyager's fun.
Yeah.
So I know some people don't like it, and it certainly doesn't live up to the promise of its own conceit, but Voyager is definitely like, it's okay, and the best of Voyager is some of the best of Star Trek.
So this series only has 3 episodes so far, but can you tell me, I know you can't rank it, but can you tell me what it feels the most like of the other shit?
I mean, obviously the biggest comparison people are going to make is like the original series.
Okay.
Because it's got Spock in it. It's got, it's basically got the same kind of format.
What I love is it does aesthetic, it does some CG, it does aesthetic updates, but it's not embarrassed of itself. Like the ship looks like the ship for the original series, just better. Yes. Like the big red glowing ball.
It's still there.
It's still there. They don't take away anything. Even their suits, they've got the normal kind of stuff. It reminds me a little bit of the J.J. Abrams movies, which I like. By the way, do the events of the J.J. Abrams movies mean anything in these other shows?
Yes, in Star Trek Picard, the fact that Romulus was destroyed in Spock's universe in the first Abrams movie, it plays a big plot line.
Interesting. Okay, so it's like a otherworld kind of thing.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, so let's talk about the characters in the show. You've got T'Pring, who is she's Spock's girl. By the way, have you ever wondered, does Spock fuck? Yeah, he does. Because he's fucking, I mean, you don't see it, but it's about to go down. He's got his clothes off, and then the captain calls him. And he's like, oh, okay. So T'Pring is Spock's betrothed. I guess on Spock's planet, it's customary for women to ask men for marriage.
Yeah.
Because they're like at a dinner, and he's like, I've been waiting for you to ask the question. And then she asks him, do you want to get married? And he's like, I thought you'd never ask. And then they go to Spock, and the captain ruins it. Captain Christopher Pike. Spock is played by Ethan Peck. I like him. He's doing a better job than Zachary Quinto, for sure.
Yeah, he's not. You know what it is? And this comes out more in the next coming episodes, too. Yeah. He's not doing a parody of Spock.
Yes.
He's got his own little twist to it.
Yes, that's a good point. And Zachary Quinto made one of the weirdest acting choices, which is Leonard Nimoy famously has a very low, voice. He has this timbre to his voice. And Zachary Quinto actually went higher with it. Zachary Quinto's Spock is like, hello, I'm Spock. And it's like, what a weird choice.
But it's weird because some people I've seen have looked at the Ethan Peck Spock and have thought his voice was too low. And I'm like, no.
No,
like,
that sounds like him. To me, it's like that sounds
like if
more
you
like
watch
Spock.
the original series. But people have a lot of these weird complaints. Like, someone was complaining that, and you can see this one coming from a mile away, where, this pilot episode was too woke.
Yeah.
Because they show footage of the January 6th insurrection.
Yeah.
But the reasoning, someone explained that, like, yeah, you can't show that because, the original series had allegory as well, but they weren't just showing it to you. And the person he was talking to was like, yeah, because they couldn't show it to you.
Right.
This show is allowed to show it to you because there's context to it.
Right.
And also because the guy said, like, you're offending half your audience if you show them that. And it's like, offending who? The people who are pro-insurrection?
Right. Yeah, go ahead and offend them. Well, we'll get into those idiots. So another character is Nurse Christine Chappell. She was from the original series, right? Mm-hmm. Wasn't she played by G. Roddenberry's wife?
Yes, Majel Barrett.
Yeah.
Who had a long history of playing characters in Star Trek. She's the voice of the comm system.
Oh, okay. Let's see. La'an, played by Christina Chong. Mm-hmm. She is she a new character?
She's a new character.
I like her a lot. She's like this badass
Oh, really? Because some people say
she's
a Mary Sue. So.
A lady who can do stuff. Somebody call the Mary Sue police.
But you know what? Something I like about the what I've noticed, I hope they continue to do this, is that each episode so far has been ostensibly someone's episode.
Oh, okay.
Where
I like that.
episode 2 is very Uhura heavy, but it's not like too overbearing. Like, she plays a big part of it. You learn a little more about her, and but you know, the plot is not like you learn some. What's the way I'm trying? Like she's the focal point for some of the episode, but it's not overbearing.
Okay.
And then this past episode, you learn a lot more about Dr. Umbega.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, he's a cool character.
You learn a big secret about him in this one.
Okay.
And then, but again, nothing that you would look at and go like, oh, this is like completely like trying to make it a puzzle box.
Right.
And it's very number one heavy, the latest episode.
Okay. Yeah, well, I gotta say, having just watched, my tendency is to call it the pilot, but it's not, because they probably knew they were going to series, so it's not like it used to be.
Yeah.
But it's the first episode. It's a really good first episode. You get a good sense of everybody. It gets you a good story, even though you're introducing a ton of things. It really does a good job.
Yeah, it shows you, like, hey, this is what we're going to be doing. Like, hey, it gives you a reason, like, hey, we're going to go to the bridge now. Okay, now we got to go on an away mission, so we're going to go to the medical bay, and you're going to meet the medical bay people. And if you're wondering what they do, hey, they're going to disguise us so that we could be aliens and go on this planet. And now we're going to go on this, like, it takes you beat by beat through, like, what a typical adventure, like, could be.
Right. Yeah. Who else? We have Uhura.
Mm-hmm.
Erica Ortegas, Lieutenant Ortegas,
mm-hmm.
who just has one little moment in the first episode, where she's like, crazy shit happens on the Enterprise, am I right, guys? Rebecca Romaine is Unchin Riley, who's the number one.
Yeah.
Who is it? I'm sure there's more people that I'm forgetting. Samuel Kirk. Who the fuck is Samuel Kirk?
That is Kirk's younger brother.
His younger brother?
Yes.
He has a mustache.
Yes, as he did in the original series.
Okay.
You want to spoil it for him?
Wait, give me 1 second. Let me talk to the audience for a second before you spoil it. So through the whole episode, there's like, you hear some things about a Kirk, and you're like, oh, what are they doing here? And then like, oh, Kirk's coming on the bridge, and it's this fucking other dude, Samuel Clark, with a fucking mustache. And I'm like, who the fuck is this guy?
It's canon.
It's canon. It's canon?
It's canon. And in the original series, he dies. So he's another one who is destined to perish.
Wow. So Captain Kirk's surrounded by a lot of death, right? Didn't his wife and son die, right?
Yeah. He dies in a fucking pile of rocks.
Yeah, well, he's buried in a pile of rocks for sure. He dies from falling off a bridge, I guess. I don't know. Or he fell with the bridge. He died. I don't know.
He fell off a bridge because they had to punch Malcolm McDowell in the face.
Yeah. Picard was like, I need your help to punch a guy in the face.
Yeah.
Only you can help me.
Only you can. Meanwhile, like 10 minutes ago, he was asking Guinan to.
Right. Yeah. So in this episode, Christopher Pike knows he had that vision, so he knows he's going to turn out the way he looks in the menagerie. He keeps seeing his reflection in things as like a burnt face. It's pretty disturbing. He gets called back on a mission because his number one thought she had a first contact situation. They picked up a warp signature coming from a planet. So, of course, as you know, they have warp capability. It means they can now be invited into they could be invited into the galaxy community. But she's missing. So they go on a mission to find it. We find out that, in fact, what they've created was a warp bomb, and that they weren't creating a warp drive. And in fact, this is a planet that has had a civil war for hundreds of years, and they're going to use the warp bomb. The people in power use the warp bomb to kill the other side. And what's great is the show never tells you what anyone believes. It's just, these are these guys, and they hate each other.
Right.
But you have no idea why or what the situation is. So they do some real sci-fi trickery here. Nurse Chop was like, I'm going to inject you with some DNA from these silly guys, and you're gonna look like them.
Yeah.
But because Spock's a Klingon, it's gonna be harder for him. It's whatever. I don't know. We're having fun. I was just like, sure. And then Spock needs a booster, which is like fun. Like, get your boosters, folks. Spock needs a booster, so they beam that down, and it beams into his eye, and I don't know. Whatever. They pull the old let's beat up two guys and steal their outfits, but only kind of because they beat up two guys then to just scan their outfits and have the replicator make it for them. So, I don't know we have to beat these guys up, these poor guys. Yeah, it's fun. We go, they get captured. Oh, he says, bring me to your leader. One of the funny things is in the beginning of the episode, you see Pike living like on like a cabin. Much like Kirk one day will. Like in Star Trek, they love people to live in nature, so it's a huge. It's very disparate looking from. Yeah, it's very different looking from the ship, and he's watching The Day the Earth Stood Still, which is a film about first contact. So he goes. Captain Pike talks to the fucking queen alien lady, and he's like, "Hey, sorry about this, but there are other planets out there, and you really shouldn't blow yourselves up. It's not advisable." And she's like, "Well, fuck you guys, you don't know, and I'm gonna fucking throw you in jail." And then he breaks what they don't yet call the Prime Directive. They call like General Rule 1 or something like that. Yeah, because they do some prequel bullshit at the end where they're like,
maybe one day this will be the Prime Directive.
Yeah, he's like, since you broke General Rule 1, they really want to strengthen it, and I think they're going to call it Prime Directive. And then Captain Pike's like, that'll never stick. Prequel. And, but much like many captains before him, he breaks the Prime Directive, and it's a cool moment. They're hauling him off to jail, and he's like, the queen of the alien people has his communicator, and he's like, emergency communication to the ship, uncloak, whatever, so you could see the Enterprise in the lower atmosphere. And
so now they know that
they now know there's aliens.
Exist, yeah.
It's like he showed that whole planet there's life outside.
Yeah,
and it's a giant squid moment. As a reference to Watchmen, like they're like, let's stop fighting, and then he beams himself down and he gives them a little fucking pep talk. Now this is what I want to know. In the timeline that they told us in the show, they talk about America had 2 civil wars, and Spock's like, yes, I'm familiar with both civil wars, and they basically say that what we're going through now will lead to a second civil war, but then after that things will get cool again and we'll finally get our shit together. Was this always part of Star Trek lore, or is this new?
Yes, even going back to the original series, there was talk of a third world war.
Oh,
but it was crystallized as being in the late 90s.
Okay.
In the Next Generation era.
Okay.
Where basically there were they tried to. There's an episode of Deep Space Nine that kind of crystallizes it, where they get sent back in time to like these riots in San Francisco in like the mid 90s, and they see all this like homelessness all over, and they're like, why couldn't these people get their act together? Like,
yeah.
Like, why couldn't they save these people?
So it's just a sad coincidence that in fact we are edging toward another.
Pretty much,
war,
like that was them in the 90s.
Like, well, this works out for us.
And that's where like I don't buy the whole like, oh, Star Trek is being too woke, because like you have episodes all throughout their history. Again, going back to that 90s episode where they were directly saying like to the people of the time, like, hey, if you don't get your shit together, like
it's always been super political. I mean, come on, guys. It's not like Star Wars where Star Wars is political, but it's not as obvious with it. Star Trek has always been obviously very, very political. Like
in the original series, Captain Kirk reads the Constitution to a group of aliens.
Yeah.
To get them to stop fighting.
Isn't it?
And when I say the Constitution, you mean you're probably thinking like, oh, like the Federation? No, the United States Constitution.
Yeah.
So like, don't tell me that like this era.
Yeah.
Is like the one that's
all of a sudden it's woke. Like no. It's like wasn't there an episode of the original show where like there were people that were like black and white cookies, like white on one side and black on the other, but the ones with white on the left side hated the ones with white on the right side, so there was racism, but they were both black and white. It was like real obvious shit like that, real on the nose shit like that.
There was a whole episode that was an allegory for Vietnam.
Right. So anybody complaining is just stupid.
Well, it's like I always say about Star Trek, like, what show have these people been watching for 50 years?
Right. It is crazy. It is crazy that people are complaining about this. Let me ask you, since you're a fan of this stuff and I'm really not, I'm not in the fandom. Is Star Trek fandom toxic the way Star Wars can be, or Rick and Morty certainly is, or Doctor Who is getting to be?
I mean, I think it's better than others, because I think there are obviously Star Trek fans who, or quote unquote fans who will just not like any new Star Trek that comes out. They're like, oh, it's woke garbage, blah, blah, blah. But I think many, many more genuinely do like the product. And you're starting to see much less of the sort of blind hate go around as the shows sort of get more popular. And you're starting to see more, I guess, like honest criticism, where there's a lot more people who will say like, hey, I like the direction Discovery's been going in. I don't like Picard, but I do love Lower Decks.
Yeah.
It's not like this blanket statement anymore.
And
Strange New Worlds is interesting because it's been getting like pretty universal praise. And it must be doing something right because the same people who would put out YouTube videos like bashing every new episode of Star Trek.
Yeah.
They're either nowhere to be found right now, or like the videos they do put out are like begrudgingly like, wow, it's better than Discovery, but that's a low bar and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. Huh.
Or like, it's good for what it is, but it's not treading new ground. It's like, I do like Discovery.
You don't like Picard, though.
I do not like Picard.
But you're a big Next Generation fan.
Yes.
What's wrong with Picard?
Picard, especially this past season.
Which is season 2?
Which is season 2. Just, they don't know how to tell a good story. Like, again, it was a big mystery box. And, like, things that should have been established as the driving force for our heroes as to why they're going back in time. Like, things that should have been revealed in, like, episode 3 were revealed in, like, episode 8. And then they had to, like, sprint to the finish line and, like, rush everything. And even then, like, some, like, Q's in it. And he shows up in the first episode, and it's like, oh, cool, like, what's going to happen with Q? And then he goes away for large chunks of the season.
Okay.
And then, like, he shows back up in the last episode.
Yeah.
And is like, oh, I'm dying, and this has all been a big test. Like, it's like, well, why? And even in the episode, Picard's like, why me? Why this? Yeah. And there's no real good answer.
Right.
And it's like, well, why any of this?
Why do we make this show?
Yeah, like, why do we do this? And now, like, they're doing a third season, which they said is going to be the final season. But they're, like, in the third season now, they're going to bring back all the next-gen people.
Okay.
And it's like, okay, but now you're doing this weird thing where you're cutting out the people who you wanted to establish are Picard's new friends.
Right.
It feels like coming back.
It feels like that this was not the plan.
Right, like this was not, like this failed and was not that good. So, and also it's the least optimistic of all the new Star Trek.
Is that true?
Yeah, like the season 1 was very much a downbeater.
Okay.
It was full of a lot of like learning that Starfleet, like anytime Picard interacted with higher ups from Starfleet, it's always like, instead of respecting him as like the dignified person who gave years to Starfleet, he would get like cursed at and be like, there's no fucking way I'm giving you a command. Like, it's like, well, why? What's the negativeness all of a sudden?
Do they actually say fuck?
Yeah, they curse him.
Oh boy.
And yeah, it just feels like Earth is not in a great place.
That's a bummer.
Yeah, but then the thing with season 2 is the first episode, it felt like they were getting back to being more optimistic.
Uh-huh.
And then at the end of the episode, like, Picard's thrust back in time, and it becomes like a time travel thing. It's like, no, why are you taking us away from the optimistic world now?
You're right.
And it becomes like they go back in time, or they get sent to an alternate future where basically Nazis have taken over.
Yeah.
And like, instead of being people who are going out into the universe to seek out new life to become friends,
right,
we basically seek out life to destroy it.
I see.
So, and every year they have a celebration where they kill off one new species.
Okay.
And like, they're going to kill off, in the timeline of Picard, they were going to kill off the Borg once and for all.
Okay.
And then time travel shenanigans happen. They have to go back in time. And it's just like, this is the optimistic Star Trek I like.
Well, there's a really, I think, awesome optimistic moment at the end of the first episode of Strange New Worlds where he kind of paraphrases, the little soliloquy you would always hear at the beginning of the original Star Trek. And because they say, what are we going? What's our mission? And he says, to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and civilization. And Uhura goes, cool. Like she's moved by what he said. And I was like, yeah, it is cool. This is fun. We're having a good time. Why can't we have a good time? So right now, much like Star Wars, there's a lot of Star Trek. There's 5 series on right now, 2 animated and 3 live action.
Yeah.
Is it too much, or do you like this bigger world they seem to be constructing?
I like this bigger world because, again, it's just more, it's more Star Trek. It's more opportunity for them to tell stories that someone might like. Because when you just had Discovery, some people felt like, oh, well, if this is what it's going to be, I don't really want it.
Right. And they sold CBS All Access with Discovery.
Right.
And Young Sheldon.
Right. But I think
now is on network.
But I think there must have been something going on where once they switched to Paramount Plus, I think they sort of tried to right the ship a little bit. Because I think that's when you saw them kind of be like, no, Star Trek Discovery is going to be in the future now. And we're going to make a change, and it's going to be in the future like it probably should have been. Right. And like Star Trek Picard season 2, they couldn't really salvage, but I think like them deciding to bring back the original cast for the next season is part of like that big decision.
So they're kind of course correcting all over.
They're kind of course correcting. Like green lighting Lower Decks, I think has been a good choice.
Okay.
Again, green lighting Strange New Worlds. That's like right after Next Generation. So it's still in that timeline.
So let me ask you, as a Star Wars fan, I feel like I want to explore more of this world. Like, I loved Mandalorian, but then Mandalorian brought in Boba Fett and then brought in Luke Skywalker, and now we're talking about Skywalkers again, and I'm like, show me a different part of this vast galaxy that you say is vast, where there aren't Skywalkers. Is there any part of you that's like, why do I need another show where we're on the Enterprise? Is there any part of you that wishes you could just go do something entirely different?
Yeah, but also I think it's all in the execution. I think the execution is key, and right now, Strange New Worlds, like, they're doing it. They're doing it right.
Yeah.
Like, it just feels like Star Trek. Like, and I think one of the problems with fandom in general is that sometimes people don't know what they want. Like, especially when it comes to something like Star Wars or Star Trek, people go, well, I want something new. And then you give them something new. It's like, yeah, but it's not like the thing I like. So at the end of the day, I've sort of just landed on, like, okay, what are they doing? And more importantly, like, how are they doing it? And Strange New Worlds, again, I think is finding a space that was previously unexplored and going, we can fill that. And we can give you something that, you know, is going to hook you in because it's familiar enough, but we're going to make it our own thing. It's going to be like something you've never seen before. And I like that. And if they said tomorrow, like, hey, we're going to do another series that's a spinoff of Discovery in the future, like, I'd be down for that too. It's just all about how you do things. If Star Wars told me tomorrow that they were going to do a spinoff of Solo in that universe, I'd be all for it. Because it would be more of that section of the Star Wars universe that we hadn't seen before. Okay. Even though, like, ostensibly it would have been a prequel.
Right. That's a good point. Yeah, I love Solo and wish they had done more of it, but it is directly related to that first movie.
Also, like, I don't buy the argument anymore that you can't revisit things, because a good example is that Sherlock show from the BBC a couple years ago. That show ultimately, like, kind of went off the rails a little bit, but by and large, people liked it. Yeah. And that's based on Sherlock Holmes, which is a property that has been rebooted, redone 1 billion times over. Yeah. But if you're able to do it well, and you're able to put your own unique spin on it, then yours is going to be the one that stands out. So I think that's kind of where I'm at with Strange New Worlds, where it's like this, they're putting their own stamp on it. They've got you could see the budget on the screen, and they're like giving you something visually that you've never seen before in Star Trek. And I think just the stories are really well done so far.
Okay. How many episodes will there be of this season?
10.
You know, part of me sometimes wonders if that's one of the reasons why we have such good stuff. Like last week, we were talking about Kids in the Hall. We were saying the new season of Kids in the Hall is great. There's only, I think, 8 episodes. Yeah. Whereas season 1 of the original Kids in the Hall had 20 episodes. You know what I mean? Like, maybe shit's better when it's just like, yeah, give us a nice little amount and then go away for a while.
But see, that I agree completely. But then that's where I think people, I would put myself in that category, get extra upset at something like Picard, where it's like, you had 10 episodes to tell a story, and there were huge stretches where you wasted time, and there were huge stretches where you should have left room to breathe, and you couldn't. Where ultimately, I agree, like, if you have 10 episodes that should be enough where it's like, okay, we're cutting out the fat.
It's interesting. Did you see the Book of Boba Fett?
No, but I really didn't have any interest in it. And all the reviews I read kind of made it feel like it was sort of like a season 2.5 of The Mandalorian.
Right. So you haven't seen Book of Boba Fett, and I haven't seen Picard. But as we're talking, I'm wondering if there's an analogy there. Because Book of Boba Fett was like, here's a great character that you know and love. And you're like, okay, you've got my interest. Let's see what you do. And then the first 4 episodes are just dull. Nothing really happens. And you're kind of like, oh, I guess I didn't care. Or I guess there wasn't much more than I knew. And then they backdoor in, Mandalorian. Even big storylines, like the end of Mandalorian season 2, spoiler alert, Grogu, Baby Yoda, and Mandalorian are split up, which is heartbreaking, cliffhanger. And then they're reunited in Boba Fett, not even in season 3 of Mando. So if you're just a Mando fan, someone had to tell you, for instance, my girlfriend did not give a shit about Boba Fett. I had to be like, babe, you have to watch at least these episodes of Boba Fett because it almost feels like it's the story that you've been
watching something you don't want to watch.
Right. And it's like, you know what? And then as it's sort of faded in my memory as it's been off for a few months, I'm kind of like, but again, that wasn't
that's
good.
The thing. They try and bait you with, hey, here's something you need to know. Picard season 2, one of the big mysteries was Picard's got a secret about his family that he's been running from his whole life. And
is it that photo album? We all hate Picard's photo album.
But spoiler for Picard season 2, you find out in again, way too late, in one of the last episodes, that his mother committed suicide, and
we never knew this,
and he feels responsible for it. Because she was asking him she basically was asking him to help her, and he didn't know. He didn't know what was going on. Basically she was like, oh, unlock this door so I can go do something. And he thought that his father was hitting her.
Oh, I see.
And really he was just trying to stop her.
Mm-hmm.
When she would act up and he would sort of grab her and lock her in a room, he thought his dad was trying to beat the shit out of her. When in reality it was no, his dad was trying to stop her from killing herself.
Oh.
But sounds like an interesting reveal.
Right.
Until you remember the fuck does this have to do with the time travel shit and
right.
So Picard stopped his mom from committing suicide. That's going to cause a Nazi future society.
Right.
Nothing really sort of added up.
Do you feel why did we need this? Because that's the way I feel about Boba Fett.
Yeah. I feel you could have done more in that next gen universe with those characters. And who knows, maybe this third season will be what people have wanted this whole time.
Maybe.
But at the end of the day, I think you didn't really need it. Especially because you had the movies, and even if you take the movies out of it, the last episode of Next Generation is one of the best finales of all time. I'll play it up against any TV finale ever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. See, in Boba Fett, there's one scene where we see him in the Sarlacc pit. You see him struggling. You see he sees a stormtrooper and he takes the stormtrooper's helmet, which allows him to breathe. Mm-hmm. And then you see him using his fire, the fire blower from his thing to blow through the lining of the stomach of the Sarlacc. And then you see him coming up out of the sand and being on Tatooine. And I was like, that's it. That's all I ever wanted to see. I knew that was going to happen, and now you showed it to me.
Now there's 9.5 episodes left.
Yeah, now I have to see this weird...
Not Mandalorian.
Well, I don't know if you know this, but a lot of the stuff pre-Mandalorian is Dances with Wolves, Last Samurai shit. Last of the Mohicans. It's he is first captured by the Tusken Raiders, and then he protects them, so they make him one of them, and it's him and his new... If Tusken Raiders were a real race, we'd be this is super problematic. It's there's an extended rain dance sequence with Boba Fett rain dancing with the Tusken Raiders, and it's it goes on longer than you want it to.
I don't know if I like that.
Yeah, and it's kind of boy, we didn't need any of this, huh?
Right. Again, it feels like padding. I didn't really need maybe I think Book of Boba Fett would have been a better idea if they were hey, we're gonna, because why not do this? We're gonna do a feature length episode,
right,
of something, or hey, while you're waiting for season 3 of Mandalorian, we're gonna give you a feature length episode that's like The Mandalorian, the Book of Boba Fett.
Right. That's what it should have been. Yeah. Let me ask you. So I have another question. So I had a lot of fun watching Captain Pike because he's handsome as the day is long. He shoots from the hip. He breaks the rules when he needs to. And I'm wondering, even though that's entertaining to watch, have they made him too much like Kirk? Because he feels a lot like Kirk.
No, you'll in the coming episodes, his character definitely gets fleshed out a little more.
Okay. Because in episode 1, he's smooth as he just feels like Kirk. He just feels, and it's like, all right, so just every cool dude gets to just be the captain. No,
you'll see more of his character when you watch it.
Okay. So now that Discovery's in the future, it won't intercept with it again.
No.
Well, yeah. How this relates to it is like the way this planet was not. They had not advanced enough to get a warp drive, but they saw warp technology through, I guess, an event that happened at the end
of Discovery season 2.
Oh, end of Discovery season 2.
Yeah,
and that's what did it. So but even though I don't watch Discovery, that's pretty easily explained. Like I didn't find myself confused.
Yeah, no,
I think you can jump right into this.
You could absolutely jump right into it.
You could jump right into this. Because guess what? You know what the ship is. You know Spock, right? It's like you get it enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And anything you don't get, they do a good job of explaining.
They'll give it to you. They'll explain it to you. Well, do you have any final thoughts?
I never thought I'd be saying this, but people should go out and get Paramount Plus if you haven't.
Wow. You know what? I've been watching that new, it's not great. It's kind of messy, but it's fun. I've been watching that new The Offer, which is like
the story behind The Godfather?
It's like a comedic dramatization of the making of The Godfather.
See, they were so close because what they should have done, and I think you know exactly where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
Do a series on The Kid Stays in the Picture.
Yes, because you do have a fucking, what's his name in it?
Who plays Robert Evans in it?
Oh, an English fellow, but he does the voice so well. He gets the Robert Evans down. It's good, but you get a lot of him in it, and it's
well, maybe they'll bring back Kid Notorious then.
Oh my God, who else is waiting for Kid Notorious to come back?
The Robert Evans adult cartoon from Comedy Central.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I like about it is they don't pay a lot of reverence to things. Like they make Francis Ford Coppola seem kind of like a joke, like he's kind of a goofy guy. I was like, all right, I like this.
Is that like what we're up to in like biography programming now, because the same kind of thing is happening right now with Winning Time on HBO.
Yeah.
Where people are saying like, Jerry Buss, the owner of the Lakers, like Jerry West, who was a famous Laker, like, oh, Jerry West never acted like that. They make him feel like an alcoholic.
Well, and maybe it is. Oh, maybe it is because for so long,
like you need to be playing fast and loose with these characters on these shows.
Well, for so long, the thing that ends up being laborious about watching biopics is when it's just so overly reverent. So maybe poking a little bit of fun is a fresh take on things. Yeah. I mean, the reason why this show, The Offer, which is what it's called, exists is because everybody has to use their IP to, make new content. And what does Paramount have? We got Star Trek, we got The Godfather. They have Friday the 13th. They should do something with Friday the 13th. Finally make that Friday the 13th during the winter movie that people have been talking about. Jason During the Winter.
Ooh.
That would be... They've been talking about it, right?
You brought him to fucking space already.
I know. You could put him in the winter for criminal's sake.
I don't care if you do Space Winter. Just give him in the winter.
Space Winter. Vin, thank you so much for being here. Everyone, go out and... you can actually watch the first episode of Discovery for free on YouTube.
Yeah,
they uploaded it to give you a little taste. They give you the first taste for free. This is PCMC. We come out every Wednesday. This is a podcast about non-toxic fandom, pop culture ephemera, and media culture. Vin is also the host of Oddball and the co-host of Wrestle Rap. So you can listen to that.
Yeah.
And those are available anywhere pods are found?
Exactly.
Very good. Wherever you get your pod, wherever you get this pod, you can get that pod. We end the episode by saying...
Go bye-bye.